I would like to invite Anshu Verma, Head External Manufacturing from Jubilant Generics Limited. Please welcome him on stage with a huge round of applause.
I'll take you to some different, genre. I mean, we are discussing manufacturing, so from in-house manufacturing and a lot of heavy doses of automation, I'll take you to outsourcing, which is external manufacturing. So I'll just give a brief. The lady just introduced me. I'm Anshu, and I'm heading the external manufacturing operations, outsourcing, and in-licensing function with Jubilant Generics, having around 24 years of experience. Previously, I worked in the same function with Teva, Pfizer, and Sandoz. And I'll just give you a brief, an insight. This is one of the area which is still, we are introducing a lot of automation, the practices, but it is still a lot of discussions, negotiations happening, are still happening manually, okay? So I'll just give you an insight on outsourcing operations, external manufacturing operations. So what are the current trend? Because I'm in pharma industry, so my presentation is largely based on pharma. You can correlate it because most of the principles remain same. So what are the current trends and what type of contract organizations we have? We have CROs, the contract research organizations, we have CMOs, then we have third-party analytical services. These days we have third-party technology transfer services who do the technology transfer on your behalf. Then we have third-party logistics services. And then these days, it's a lot of revolutions are happening. There are independent parties who does everything on your behalf virtually. You can sit somewhere in Europe or US. There are parties, there are companies who are doing everything on your behalf. They will identify partners for you. They will introduce and they will organize tech transfer for you. They will arrange marketing partners for you for respective markets, US and Europe. Anywhere, I mean, irrespective of market. Now, why we require contract manufacturers other than in-house? Because obviously we have cost benefits. We might have capacity constraints at our in-house sites. We can use novel technologies, some of the technologies which we do not have. I'll give you one example. When I joined Jubilant around four and a half years back, COVID was at its peak. And we were the first company to introduce remdesivir in the market. So Jubilant had its out-licensing deal with Gilead, which is a Swiss pharma company which owns the patent of remdesivir. We do not have our own injectable facility. We have all oral solid doses form facilities. But despite of that, through external manufacturing partners, we manage to deliver the product in the market within 3 months. And afterwards, the other companies, Cipla, Hetero, and all, when the demand was booming, they comes up. So you can take advantage of these novel technologies, the techniques which are not available at your own in-house facilities. You can use contract manufacturers there. Obviously, outdated technologies no more available at in-house facilities. If they are available somewhere outside, you can use them. Now, what type of outsourcing deals? It's a vast subject. I'm just taking it quickly. So it's a CMO business. So I'll just give you the money. I'll use your resources. And the second is BD deals, or which you call those who supply, or in-licensing type of deals, where we can directly buy the dossiers, or we can buy the, sorry, again, I'm using the pharma-specific word. We can buy the product from you, right? The product's IP ownership is with you. Only the marketing authorization will remain with me, and I'll pay you the money for that. I'll skip this. CROs, we just discussed. Contract manufacturers, we just discussed. They are cost competitive. They are responsible for consistent product quality, and as we discussed, we pay them, we give them the technology, we give them sometimes our resources also, and we just utilize their factory or their machinery, their resources. And Now, these are the emerging trends in pharma contract manufacturing business. I'm sure in your respective industries also you would have encountered these type of arrangements. So there are two parties involvement where there is a direct transfer from one side to another side. There are three parties, the licensor. There is a third party which is involved in the transfer of technology and the receiving side. Four parties where there is a contract research organization where you are developing the product. Then they are developing for one particular party, a licensor. Then it goes to the receiving side through a third party. And then there is a five-party involvement, which is quite obfuscating in nature, which I earlier explained, that there are now external companies available in the market who does everything for you. They identify all type of partners for you. Okay, so this is about the business development partners. This is often known as P2P business. This is work on cost sheet model. They have the product, they have the IP ownership, and we just buy the product from them and we sell it in the market as it is. Okay, the margin is all ours. Now, what is important when I finalize any particular contract manufacturer? That that these are the deciding factors, whether the contract manufacturer has the required capabilities. As I was giving the example of remdesivir, so it was an injectable product, and at that time when we were launching it, there were huge demands. We introduced that product with 1 month of stability data in the market. Normally, you require at least 3 months or 6 months of stability data when you introduce any new generic product in the market, even in India. But because of the COVID situation, we were not forced, I mean, it was the need of the time. Government allowed us to introduce it in 1 month. So whether those CMOs which you are using, whether they have the required capabilities, those who have the capabilities, whether you have some historical contacts with them, can be identified a preferred supplier, what are the offered cost. Obviously, these days, our country, particularly India, is full of a lot of CROs and CMOs. So, I keep on getting a lot of quotes. So you have to finalize which is rational, which should fit in your P&L, where you can get maximum, margins. Of course, generic business is too much dependent on margins these days. Now, we already discussed it. Pure CMOs. There are some of the deals which are like co-development where the R&Ds of the two organizations, they jointly develop a product and they file in a respective market, whether it's US or Europe. So those are known as co-development deal. Now, I'll just give some insight on contract, which is more of supply chain perspective. So what we need to define and what should be very clearly, and listed in the supply agreement or contract manufacturing agreement which we does with our partners. So first is IP ownership. That is key, that the licensor normally owns the IP ownership of the product, and it should be very clearly defined that till the end of the relationship, the IP ownership lies with the licensor, in case if it's a pure loan licensing or contract manufacturing type of deal. If it's a in-licensing type of deal where you are directly buying the product, obviously, as I mentioned before, the IP ownership lies with the licensee. Then, of course, you need to have clearly defined non-binding and binding forecast in your agreement. This, as we were discussing during the panel time, this helps to control the inventory management also. I mean, if you have normally we give 12 months of non-binding forecast and 3 to 4 months of fixed forecast to our partners. Failure to supplies and attributable reasons. This is a mutable a point that if there is any FTF, we call FTS, failure to supply because of any particular reason, then the reasons are responsible. Who is responsible for those failures? Normally, in most of the cases of contract manufacturing, material providing is the responsibility of the licensor. Like when I work with my contract manufacturer, I provide them the material. If I cannot provide the material on time, that failure is my responsibility. If because of any operational reason or because of XYZ reasons which are attributable to the partner, those are the CMO's attributable reason. Okay, we must have clearly defined supply prices and cost. Everybody knows it. Any type of pass-through cost, capex which is coming for the project, those should be defined. Then timely availability of POs, we already discussed. Penalty clauses and incentive clauses. For US and Europe, when we supply, and normally we provide the material, we supply the material to the through agents like Walmart and Avcare and other customers. It's not directly deal, or even if you are bidding for government business in US, if you cannot supply a product on time, you incur heavy penalties. If because of failure to supply, you are incurring those penalties, whether you are passing on those penalties to your partners, can you pass them on? These are heavy penalties. All these things needs to be discussed and captured in a proper way in your contract, in your agreement. Normally CMOs, they never agrees on it, but it has to be properly discussed and at least captured in your agreement, right? Because of the reasons attributable to whom. Like if there is a machine breakdown at the CMO site for 2 months, it's a big machine, and because of that the supplies are not happening, then obviously you would like to pass on your penalties, at least some part of it, to your CMO. Incentive clause, if they are giving you the product on time, you must incentivize them. Inventory management, like who will be responsible for materials. In some cases, they buy the material on their behalf, on your behalf, so they should in what lead time you should pay them. All those things should be very clearly defined in agreement. Quality roles and responsibilities, these days, it's very, very critical. And it's a little disputable still I would say a gray area, because where the maximum contentions and litigation happens in this business, in this external manufacturing business, because the technology is yours and you are manufacturing it somewhere else. So in case of any quality problems, rejections, recalls, or defect of the product, many a times your partners, they doesn't agree, and they say that because it's your technology, you should owe this responsibility. And the licensor says that because I'm using and I'm manufacturing it, technology has already been transferred. If it is happening at your place, then you should own that responsibility. So you should have proper root cause analysis, and those investigation happens. Court of law, normally a neutral court of law, it works. Attributable default, I already told you. Material responsibility, we discussed. Incoterms, what type of Incoterms, whether it's Ex Works, you are responsible once the material is ready at the premises, or it's suppliers or your contract manufacturer's responsibility. Those terms should be very clearly defined. Yes, I'm just finishing it. Termination clause. Both parties, normally they should have these termination clauses. It should be balanced. It should not be in one party's favor, that the licensor can abruptly terminate the agreement or CMO can terminate the agreement. It should be mutually agreed that where you can terminate your agreement, at least till you transfer successfully the product to the next partner. Till that time, the supplies should be uninterrupted from your partner. Okay, these are quality responsibilities. I'll skip this. Quality relationship managers, because we have time constraint. So we have supplier relationship concept. We have new, concepts of these days. Most of the organizations who are using external manufacturings, they are using quality relationship manager and supplier relationship manager along with supplier relationship team. They help a lot in successfully and in a smoother way executing the projects. So because of the time, I'll skip it. These are the essential component of your supplier relationship team. Basically, it's a cross-functional team comprising of PMO, procurement, supply chain, quality, formulation specialist, regulatory support, somebody from finance and accounts. What are the requirements for a successful SRT or supplier relationship team? It should be complete, it should be focused, goals should be mutually aligned, and they should speak in one voice, of course, with supplier, and they should have ownership. Some of the regulatory challenges when you deal with external partners. I'll skip it because it will take us in a different direction. If you have any question, you can ask me after my session. Okay, but last part, I'll just finish it in a minute. So what are the key attributes which you look at partners? So other than technical capabilities, the practical challenges which we face, adequate human resources should be there, because many a times those who seek business, they are, despite of doing all due diligence, quality audits and all, somewhere you miss certain things. And then when your thing starts, then only you realize that there is something which we missed. So there should be adequate human resources, staff, adequate competent technical staff. Your capex requirement should be very clearly defined and understood well in starting. And of course, you should have proper gap assessment of your projects right in the beginning. Before starting the projects, it's better to do your gap assessments and understand your requirements. These are all part of your vendor qualifications in your quality roles and responsibilities, and your quality agreement. You should cover that your vendors. I'm not talking of the main vendor, finished product vendor. I'm talking of the raw material and packing material vendors. So who will do the qualification of those vendors, whose responsibility it will be? This should also be clearly discussed. How you can optimize cost through these measures, connecting with your partners with your raw material and packing material vendors, direct material procurement you can do and you can provide to your partners, managing minimum order quantities from vendors, optimizing batch sizes. This helps a lot. We discussed during our inventory discussion. CapEx and machinery support, correct inventory management, encouraging innovation to reduce throughput time and thus to pass on benefits. This also helps a lot, particularly in pharmaceutical sector, where you have always scope of improvement in your processes. You can give liberty to your partners to innovate. Any benefits in throughput time and all, those benefits, those can be passed on to you. And if there are any particular products where the volumes are too less and where the business is not much lucrative for the partner, obviously it's a volume-driven business, so there could be a fixed cost model. What really attracts CMO? It's volumes mainly, as I said. It's a totally volume-driven business, and what really a license holder wants from CMO, it's competitive rates, on time in full supplies, quality, optimized processes, required supports from CMOs. And basically it's a collaborative business. It requires full support from CMO, as well as an understanding way of thinking in terms of both the parties, licensor and licensee. But this is a very, very growing trend these days, particularly in pharma, and I'm sure in other industries as well. So this is my last slide. In case if you have any question, you can ask, or you can connect with me afterwards.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Please have a huge round of applause.